Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am at the Wilderness Road State Park in Ewan, Virginia, and I wanted to come by here and show you the historic Martin Station. So if you've not done so, subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and let's get started. So right here is the sign for the historic Martin Station with the cabin in the background. Look at those mountains off in the distance. Here we've got some social distance signs. Don't get lost in the woods. Be aware of the bears. And a number if you need assistance. But here's the trail that leads into. And right here we have Joseph Martin, 1740 to 1808. Beautiful little cabin over here. If you've never seen the raid they put on here, they normally do it this time of year, but with COVID it has really changed a lot of things here lately, and they haven't been able to put it on the last year or two. And let's go over, before we go look at the fort, let's look at, here's another plaque, see what it says. Dedicated to the memory of General Joseph Martin, Martin Station, and the more than 200,000 settlers whose courage and fortitude helped carve their great nation out of a vast wilderness and gave birth to the American frontier spirit. And we've got beautiful little area here. Here's the fort. I remember when they used to do tobacco like that. At it.
Welcome to Martin Station. So Joseph Martin originally came into this valley in 1769. His first attempt at settlement. He came in, he built the 2 cabins that you see over to the west of the fort here.
Okay.
And he left out of the valley pretty soon afterwards. He came back again in 1775. This was after the Treaty of Sycamore Shoals. He came here and built the station. Depending on the source documentation, it's about 17 men he brings with him. He brings his younger brother Bryce, Mordecai Horde, and John Red. Red leaves us a description of the fort. He says it's a station in the shape of a parallelogram with 6 cabins to the inside, a palisade wall in between, and a spring to the north. Now the buildings that you see in here, the 2 in each corner, are considered blockhouses. So the one over here to my right, that's the officers' quarters.
Okay.
So after the station was built, source documentation and letters indicate that Martin wasn't here on a constant basis with the men, but Mordecai Horde came in and stayed. So he would have been in the bottom of the quarters here.
Okay.
He has the fine accoutrements, the feather bed, the writing desk, the brass kettles. The men would have stayed upstairs. That's the reason for the ladder being on the outside of the building, is to not disturb the sergeant.
Okay.
The 2 cabins you see here would be for visiting men of distinction, gentlemen. They possibly could have served as a land office if Martin ends up selling land for Henderson. Or if there's enough room and there's not really anybody in the station, if the family comes through and needs a place to stay for a night or so, they'd be given those quarters. The small house here is our store cabin, so those are normally where I stay. All the goods belong to the captain, and all my personal accoutrements are under the bed. This time of year, with the station being established, most of the boxes and things would be empty, or they'd be repurposed for other things. The things they brought out here would already be kind of distributed around the fort. The long building there is our chicken shed and our tool coop, and the other large blockhouse in the back, that's known as the fort house in our understanding. So that would have been the first structure that went up for all the men. It's also known as a common house once the fort is established. That's where no matter your social class or distinction, men of any type of social distinction could gather together, whether it be for a meal, whether it be for Sunday service, for gaming. If you happen to stay in the tavern and had the money to do so, you could get a bed, food to eat for the night, and they would fodder your horse as well.
Okay.
Also in the fort there you see our bake oven. So Mr. Ross has got it up and running. He's going to cook some things for us. He or one of the women, as it like it became later in 76, would man that bake oven for the common house. The men who were employed here would cook in that center pit. They would consider that a summer kitchen. We wouldn't be fed out of the tavern. We'd be fed by our own meetings.
Okay.
On the outside of the wall, you'll see the double pin structure. For educational purposes today, that is the blacksmith shop and the gunsmith shop. More than likely, a gunsmith shop never existed here between 75 and 76, but the blacksmith shop did. It belonged to Bryce Martin, Joseph's younger brother. The barns itself, though, when Richard Henderson came through in late May to early June of 75, that's where he would end up storing his wagons. He would make it to the Cumberland Gap, realize he couldn't get those wagons over the crest, so he'd bring them back here and build the structure to keep them safe.
Okay.
This is as far west as the wagon's going to go until 1796, when they widen the road as the new United States comes into being. This was also the last station in a chain that went from the Watauga settlements to here. This was your last little bit of rest, or your last little bit of just comfort and safety before you headed on up into Kentucky. You could split off, but you could either go to Boonesboro, Logan's Fort, or Harrod's Station at this point in time. If you were headed to Boonesboro, it's roughly 138 miles from this station to there, and there's nothing in between. The station itself, as you see it here, would exist till 1776. Martin and his men would be ordered back to Fort Rye Cove, and the station would be abandoned. The men would only return in the fall of 76 to pick the corn that they had put in earlier in the year, and that would pretty much be the end of Martin Station.
Okay. Wow, and that's a nail.
Rose head, just different facets on it so it catches light, so it catches your eye.
Yeah.
If you're going to put nails in the siding on a home or in the front door, that'd be the type of nail you're going to use. So the length of it is the perfect length for a door nail.
Wow.
Taking two boards about this thickness, nailing them together, and then clinched over on the back side, and so that it's holding both boards snug together. So door nails would always be clinched over.
Okay.
And that, that nail is something simple.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of effort to make, but it's no different than anything else we forge. We draw it out to length to make it longer. The longer it gets, the skinnier it gets, and then we upset the head onto it. The shorter we make it, the fatter it gets. So that's the only two things we do in forging. Now, we don't remove metal, we just move metal.
Okay. Well, that is impressive. Wow.
Over here and let him work.
This is our gun shop.
Okay.
This is a working shop, and we've built several guns in this shop over the years.
Okay.
One of them being completely from scratch. And when I say completely from scratch, that means the barrel, the lock, and all the hardware was done next door in the forge.
Okay.
Now these guns are not like our modern guns where you throw a piece of metal in the mill, and in an hour you have a frame and a slide. You drop the internals in, and away you go. These ones here are all built one at a time and by hand. And to give you an idea of the time it takes for a plain Jane one, this is some of the iron that was left over from that one build that we did. It takes 40 hours, approximately 40 hours, to forge weld the barrel. And what they'll do is they'll get the iron, and on the side of the swag block is different geometric shapes, and what they'll do is they'll get it started into a U shape. They'll put a mandrel down inside of it and start to close it over and forge weld it.
Okay.
When they're happy with the weld, they'll drive that mandrel out of that barrel, and they will straighten the barrel. They'll clean up the outside, and they'll clean up the bore. If it's going to be a smooth bore, they'll breech it, and it'll be ready to put into basically build a stock around it.
Okay.
Now, if it's going to be a rifle gun, they'll go through the exact same process, but it'll go into a bench like this. This is a rifling bench, and what happens is this metal rod pushes cutters down the inside of the barrel. These cutters are repurposed files, and everybody knows that carbon steel will cut iron relatively well.
Right.
These cutters are set at different depths in these heads, and once it goes into one once it goes into the rifling bench, it can take upwards of another 12 hours to cut the lands and grooves in it.
Wow.
Depending on what your station in life was, commanded what you could afford. If you were a poor farmer, obviously it was a plain Jane, everyday gun, dragged through the mud, and things. If the gunsmith did not have guns readily available for sale, you were probably looking at about 6 weeks from beginning to delivery.
Okay.
The guns that were made for aristocrats were very highly decorated. A lot of times the stocks were inlaid with mother of pearl, silver wire inlay, gold inlay. The stocks were heavily relief carved with all the metalwork being heavily engraved. Some of those can take up to 1.5 to 2 years to complete one gun.
Wow.
When they come off the master's bench, they are literally works of art.
Oh yeah.
And so,
okay.
but what we have here today on the bench is a smooth rifle, and this is kind of an oxymoron. And this one here is a rifled gun. The smooth rifle is exactly like a rifled gun. It has the architecture of the stock and the trigger guard and the butt plate is all identical to a rifled gun. It's got the high cheek weld, very thin flowing lines, a little relief carving, not much. The difference between a smooth rifle and a rifled gun is the fact that this is a smooth bore.
Okay.
Now, this would be pretty accurate out to 100 yards. The men that carried these every single day and used them were very intimate with their guns, and they knew the ins and outs of their firearms, and so they were extremely proficient with them.
Okay.
This one here is a rifled gun, and as you can see, the architecture on this is very similar to the architecture on this one. Now, this one here will hit a man-sized target at 250 to 300 yards out very easily.
Yeah.
Because of the rifling inside the barrel.
Right.
So, but if you'd like, I'll fire one of these off for you.
Okay.
And the reason why they call it a flintlock, because there's a piece of flint here, which makes this go off. Now this is a smooth rifle. What we'll do is we'll take this here. We'll prime the pan first. Close the frizzen. That's what this piece of steel here is. And we'll pour the rest of the powder down here. We'll take the paper and wad it up a little bit, which will give it a bigger bang. Take this is called the ramrod. Take that ramrod, rub that paper all the way down till it's seated on top of that charge. Then we turn the ramrod. You guys ready to make some noise?
Yes.
Fire in the hole!
Fire in the hole!
And that's how it goes.
Wow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Well, that was the historic Martin Station in Ewan, Virginia at the Wilderness Road State Park. I hope you enjoyed it. And at this time, let me turn the camera around.
Give a thumbs up and subscribe.
And as my grandkids say, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and you have a blessed day.